is our implementation strategies using a communication device at home. And it's my honor to introduce to you Kim Heine for this quick 1 hour session to breeze through everything she can tell us in an hour to use this communication device at home. So here we go. Off to you, Kim.
Thank you. So as she said, my name is Kim Heine and I'm a speech language pathologist, and I work for a company called Company. PRC is going to be the easiest way to remember that, right? And we're all salaried employees, and using augmentative communication as a tool for communicating is all I've ever done as far as speech goes for a good 37 years now. Just a quick review. So what is speech versus language versus communication? Because you kind of have to wrap your brain around that. So speech is that, the output, right, that we coordinate breathing, phonation, articulation, right, and then we get the sounds. And so sometimes what a communication device is doing is replacing or augmenting. So that's where you get the AAC, augmented alternative communication, that speech mechanism. Language, on the other hand, is the symbolic, what we're saying, how it's represented on the device, the morphological endings, right? Different reasons for communicating. We don't just request. And then finally, and in this, it's kind of hard to see, we didn't have a projector, but we're okay. A 3-year-old really says about 1,000 words. So a lot of times we say, oh, okay, well, he says some words. And you say, okay, that's great, because I'm a speech language pathologist. I do want your child to use words, right? And then the words that he can't say is what I want him to use on his device. And so communication is really the exchange of information between two people. And I can do that a lot of ways. I can go, right? Or I can go, right? Or I can, right? There's all different, and I'm sure each of y'all have little love language between your child, right? Right? Even, well, and I think I've heard one time that mom has 300 and some meanings, because you can go, mom, 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 right? So what we're really doing is augmentative alternative communication is another tool in your child's toolbox. So it's not that, if they bring you something that they want you to open, you don't say, well, tell me on your device, because they've already told you. You reflect on that and you say, oh, you want me to open this, or you need help? And then you model that word, right? Or they bring you the empty juice container to ask for more juice. Again, you don't say, tell me on your device, because they've already told you in a way, right? And so it's just another tool, because what we're trying to do is you've got your expressive language up here. So those other ways of, you might even have some sign language that they know, a few verbalizations, right? But that speech is really lagging behind. So we've got to bridge that gap between really having what we call spontaneous novel utterance generation. Because then way up here is receptive language. So we understand here, we express here, but our speech is way down here. So what a communication device does then is it gives you an alternate way to produce speech. It gives you another way to acquire language, which is really important, right? And I think you'll see that in a minute. And then it gives you another way to communicate, another tool in your communication toolbox. So let's kind of look at what that looks like. I know it's kind of hard to see, but, oops, why did that fly? Let me go back. Hang on, I'm going to have to do this, I think. There we go.
We're going to put some air in. Here it goes. What now? Should I put more, or should we make it go? Oh, I'd love to hear your voice go. Oh, you got me. Did you see that? Did you see that? That was funny. Should we do it again? Again. Down. You want to see if we can make it go down this time? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put some more air in. Let's see if we can make it go down. What now? I'm sorry? Stop. Stop. Okay, no more hair. What next? Stop. Oh, I already stopped. Yay, I already stopped.
So there's another communication tool we just used there.
Do you want to help me put some more hair in?
Now she's lost his interest because she's too demanding, but here's another tool.
What are you thinking? Oh, you wanted to know what else is in my bag? Is that right? What? Okay, we'll look at what else is in my bag. First, I'm going to make this one go. You ready? Go! All right, let's put that away. We'll see. What? What else is in my bag?
He's like, I can't wait. So, good and bad there. When she was looking for him to say go, to make the balloon go, and when he didn't know what she wanted him to say, he put his hand on her. And right then, she should have said, oh, I know what, you want to make this go, right? And respected and reflected on what he did. She did do it when he pointed to see, right? So that was a pretty good indicator there. So that's what happens with communication, language, and speech. She acknowledged his verbalization go, right? She acknowledged other communication tools, but she was modeling a lot of language. Let me do this again. I'm going to put air in. What is in my bag? If you don't have language, you can't get language, okay? And so that's what, she probably had about 50 or so words available for him. So let's kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but we're off to McDonald's, and I've got 15 words here for you. I want Sprite, Coke, chicken nuggets, hamburger, cheeseburger, cup, McFlurry, Oreo, chocolate, vanilla, small, ketchup, and mustard. So, could you order with those 15 words, pretty much? And if there wasn't something, guess what? McDonald's has a picture thing for you to point to too, right? So you can order your food, right? But what if they forgot the mustard? What would you do? How would you let them know?
Yell real loud.
You probably take the hamburger back, right, and open it up, and then maybe point to your communication board that had mustard on it, and right, because you've got this little board that just has these 15 words, and then I think they figure it out, right? You get to the table and it's dirty. How are you going to communicate that? It's going to be tough, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because remember, your words are like all these food items and then the verb want. Someone takes your drink while you're cleaning your table. So you go and get a rag or, a napkin or something. So now what? How do you let somebody know that someone took your drink? Your friend has something stuck in her teeth. I guess you could kind of, right? Let your friend know she needs to put your phone in front of her or something. You're not quite sure what the mystery meat is that your friend's eating. So you want to kind of find out what she's eating. So you could maybe go, what? Right? Maybe some gestures. A family friend walks in and you want to get their attention. What could you do? Wave at them and motion them to come on over, right? Yeah. And then your friend asks about your food and where you're going next. So how are you going to let them know you're enjoying your food? It's like, how's your meal? Maybe a thumbs up, or right? But what about where you're going next? I mean, unless you're going swimming or, right, you're going dancing or I don't know what, right? It's going to be tough. And then finally that you're full. You might could do something like this or all done. But basically what I want you to see is there's certain kinds of vocabulary words that we're focusing on, and they're called core vocabulary. And that's that first handout that you have, core in a nutshell. And it shows you that when you take 5 what we call core words, verbs, adjectives, prepositions, pronouns, articles, adverbs, you can make a lot of 2-word combinations versus if you just have a lot of nouns. And really all you can do with nouns is request. And actually 80% of what we say comes from a bank of about 400. Some research says even 250 words that we use over and over and over again, no matter where we are, what age we are, what sex we are, what we're doing. The other 20% of what we say are what we call fringe words or nouns, and we only say nouns 20% of the time. And so, you can think about it this way: which word would be more useful, pumpkin or health, right? So I think you kind of get the idea. On the back side of that handout, it shows you the 100 most frequently used words, divided up by the parts of speech. And one study showed toddlers that they might said 26 words constituted 93% of what they said, and not one of those 26 words was a noun. So those words are on that list. Things like what, mine, now, more, want, right? And so research is telling us what words to focus on. It's not that we never teach nouns, because we do, right? We're going to find out what that motivating food is, what that motivating toy is, what that motivating TV show might be or whatever, and get that programmed into the device. But our focus is really going to be on using these core words. And we're doing them across activities. So in this first picture, they're making a name tag. And the water cup, it's with watercolors, is empty, but there's a big picture, right? And we first had to go over to the name tag table. And then we had to get water because our cup was empty. And so we're creating needs to communicate by going, oh, we have no water. Oh, I need to get some water. And then the watercolors were closed, and those plastic things are hard to open. So then we're going to have open and help. And then we can use get again, so we're going to get our brush wet, and we're going to get some paint. And then finally turn, it's my turn to make a name tag. You've made one, now it's my turn to make one. And then this is over at music time, and we've got a big bag that's closed of all kinds of musical instruments. So we have to go over to music, and we have to open our bag, and we have to get out a toy or instrument, and we have to have help playing it, right? And then we can take turns with it. And what that's all called is what Gail Van Tietenhoven, another guru in AAC, calls repetition with variety. That you're using the same words over and over, but they have different meanings. And that's your second little handout where it says go. And so it's showing me, what does go mean? It just doesn't mean we're going in the car. We can make water go when it's time to take a bath. We can make a video go. We can make a blender go when it's time to make a smoothie. We can get on Dad's back and tell him to go, and we get to have a, what's that, horseback ride or whatever you call it, right? So that's really, you're doing different activities but keeping the vocabulary constant. And that's what you're mostly doing in the beginning, because they're emergent communicators and they don't have a lot of vocabulary. Until they have about 75 to 100 single words, they're not even that they're using spontaneously, they're not putting those words together to make phrases. So one of the biggest mistakes we make, even as speech therapists, is we want them to, talk in complete sentences. Well, really, we talk telegraphically. If you said, could I get you something to drink? I'd say, water, please. I don't say, I want water, please, right? And if we're not real careful, especially the I want becomes this carrier phrase that just gets used in front of everything. Especially with children on the spectrum, they don't hear the boundaries between words auditorily. And so do y'all remember when you learned your alphabet? There was a section called elemental P, right? What letter was that? It was just this elemental P. And so I've seen some real extreme cases of people learning that they have to say, I want, to get anything. And so one fellow that a mom just told me about a couple weeks ago, in therapy was having, as his reward time, was able to watch a video on the iPad, but he had to say, I want, watch, and then fill in what video. So now, anytime he says anything, he says, I want, watch, to eat cookie. I want, watch, to eat, drink milk. I mean, and we don't even know how to break him of that. So really, we're not trying to especially until they're using 75 to 100 words spontaneously without being prompted. We don't even want to put two words together because that's not the way language develops anyway.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So when you have core vocabulary, you have a variety of word classes. You have pronouns, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, verbs, right? And modifiers, question words, and you have different reasons for communicating. I can communicate a request by just reaching, right? I can take you also by the hand and take you to something and point, right? I really want to direct your activities. I want to ask for information. I want to share information. I want to comment. Those are the other things I want to do besides just request. So I don't know if you can see this, but another part of vocabulary that's important in how it's displayed is developing what's called motor plan. So can y'all look at that and type your names with your eye? So just like do your first and last name by using your eyes. Okay? Now maybe what city you were born. Pretty easy, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, what about what college you went to or your favorite football team or something like that? Does that work? All right, now do the same thing. So do your first and last name. You're having trouble, huh? It's awful, right? We can't even get to our last name. What happens is, obviously the keyboard's jumped around, right? Which we would never want our keys on our keyboard on our smartphones to jump around. Like my daughter added an app to my phone and then it messed up all the rest of my, where I'm used to going here, right? And that's what happened when we learned to type. We learned the home row and then we extended and the keys never changed. They weren't big and then we made them small. They were always the size, right? And that's what leads to automaticity. If you don't keep things consistent, then you won't become automatic. And so that's from what's called the LAMP approach, language acquisition through motor planning. LAMP is not a device, it's not a vocabulary, it's an approach. There's LAMP words for like vocabulary that can come on the iPad or on the device. But the approach itself is that motor automaticity is achieved through practice when a consistent motor movement produces a consistent result, right? So it doesn't matter when you do something on the device, it should always end up with the same result. And I think that you can kind of see here from Natalie. Natalie is blind, but able to, I think I'm going to have to do it like this. Let's see if that'll work. But again, it's not the pictures that are going to mean anything to her because she can't see. So she's saying go, and now the music gets to go. But that's not really what she wants.
Play.
She wants to be able to play with that toy, right? And so, oops, let's go over here real quick. So again, you don't have to be able to see these crazy looking pictures. You just have to know the motor movement. Just like if you're a typist that doesn't have to look at your keys. If I took the letters off your keys, you'd still be able to type, but if I move them around, you would not, right? So motor planning is really important. And then again, more keys, not less. I don't know if any of y'all remember texting from 9 numbers, right? Okay, so would you rather do that or would you rather have 26 letters, right? So you have to have language again to get language. So we're going to have vocabulary there. So the idea is you want to start off with the smallest size cell they can target so that you never have to change that size, which will then never change the motor movement. You can limit how many pictures are showing, right? But they're always going to be in the same location. And it may extend, or it may stay just as a one, what we call a one hit. Just depends on the child, but it's never going to change. Is I get that question a lot of time. People say, well, if we're only going to introduce about 8 words, why can't I just have 8 big pictures? We could. But the motor movement to get, let's just say if this is the size of one of the pictures, because this is a little almost square, there's nothing unique about touching anywhere in here. We'll say the word go, right? And I can even do it by slapping at it, right? So what I want to do is I want to encourage a point, and I want to have a very unique motor plan. And so if they don't have the ability to point, sometimes by just giving them a key guard or a touch guide, something that's going to guide their finger along is all they need, right? So give them time to explore. Listen to what happens here with Claire and Mom. Listen to what Mom wants Claire to say.
Spell your name. Can you spell your name? C.
Do you think she wants to spell her name?
More.
More what?
Sad.
You're not sad.
Sick.
You're not sick.
Mom.
Mom, I am Mom.
Babies.
You got on panties.
Off.
No, we won't take your panties off.
Bad.
Yep, bad. I what?
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Oh,
Oh. Favorite.
Favorite what?
Mom.
I'm your favorite mom.
Here. Think.
You're gonna think about what?
Shape.
About your shirt. That's a
Awesome. She just got out of spelling her name, didn't she?
So, in the beginning, Mom wants her to do something. So that would be like if I came up to you and said, okay, tell me the presidents in order, or tell me the planets in order, or, and you would just be like, I don't even want to talk to you, lady. Go away, right? And so you hear Claire, and she's just kind of doing what some people would say is stimming, right? She's just kind of going through her device, but she's really exploring. A baby first says mama, not because it sees you and knows that you're mama, but because they're exploring with their mouth. They're putting their lips together, and they've been doing that when they've been eating and different things. And so then sound comes out, but then you respond to that. And then the baby says dada, and you don't come, you come now. And then he says bubba, and Bubby comes, and right? And so what you really caught on that I thought was so good was that Mom picked up and gave meaning to everything Claire said. And I do believe that a lot of what she said was very purposeful, because she randomly said panties. And Mom said, you've got panties on. And then she said off. And Mom said, no, we don't take our panties off. And then she said bad. I mean, she has about 200 words she can say. Yeah, it's probably bad to take your panties off if you're not getting ready to get in the bathtub or go to bed, right? Then she said favorite. And Mom said, favorite what? And she said, Mom. I mean, I don't know, she could have said anything. But it's that whole thing of assuming what that what they are saying, the same way that we do with a child that says mama. We don't assume that it's saying dog. We assume that it's saying mama, even though, right? So I want you to think about that a little bit, because a lot of times kids get, what's the right word? Not accused, but they're just dismissed because they're stimming, right? But that exploring is what helps you learn. I don't know how many of y'all already have a device or no, but that device has got to go everywhere with you. It goes where your phone goes, if that's what you want to remember. And that's a quote from a mom with a daughter who has a device. Everywhere that you take your phone, you would take the device. So here's kind of some pictures. This is on vacation. This is at home. This is probably one of my favorite pictures. I just love how Skylar has his hand. This is at Vacation Bible School. He has his hand on his communication partner's arm there saying, give me time, I'm going to get this out. And the partner is just totally focused on Skylar. So the device is going to go everywhere with you. And then you've got to learn that language. You've got to be able to model it just like you saw the therapist modeling a minute ago. Because if you don't, then your child's not going to be able to learn. If you just give me a piano, do I become a pianist? No, someone has to teach me, and it has to be a piano teacher, not a violin teacher, right? So think about how a child develops language. When they first come into a room and point to something, what do we say to that child back?
What it is?
Yeah, oh, I see or yes, So I see, right? I see that. What if a child comes up and hugs their mother? What does the mother say back, or their dad? I love you too. That's right. Mm-hmm. Now raises his arms up to say what? You want up, right? So this is what we do normally in normal language development. It's what we should also do on the communication device. Again, they're using those other communication tools, and we need to respect and reflect. I forgot to connect to the internet.
Oh my gosh, this is the greatest video. Yes.
Yes, is it too late to connect? Probably take us a minute, huh? Is it worth it?
Have you guys seen this video?
No.
Oh wow,
Okay,
it's
just
pretty worth it. I'll come back to it if
Keep
you need
going.
me
Let
to.
me pull it up on mine.
Okay, so what you're going to see in this video is he's about 8 to 10 months old, and then this is his dad. And what the dad does such a good job of is that the little boy is just babbling, jabba, jabba, jabba. And then the dad comments, yeah, man, I know. And then he pauses and waits he doesn't say, tell me what you think, he waits for him.
Okay, I've got it.
Yes, let's watch it.
It's so amazing. It's definitely worth watching. We've got to get our ad out of the way.
Oh, are you going to need speakers?
Yeah, I'm sure I can get it loud enough.
Oh, I think the ad's still playing back.
Oh, no.
I think the live stream is playing background.
Oh, that's the live stream?
Oh, it is. I got that.
We'll get it.
Sorry about that, everybody. It really is so cute that it's worth doing whatever it takes for you to see it.
Did you understand it though? No. Oh, not this one. This one. Yeah, this next one. I was wondering. I don't know what anything sees because they use some stuff this time. Exactly what I was thinking. Oh yeah. Right, don't bring that. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's probably good. Just noticing how he pauses and gives him a time to jargon on, right? Or babble as we say it.
So adorable.
Yeah, it just shows you that what we tend to do with a communication device user, though, is not be that patient. We tend to say, tell me, tell me, tell me. We tend to, not assume that whatever he was babbling out made any sense at all, right? And so a lot of times that's what I try to coach my parents on doing is, what do you normally do, right? Or look around and see, because it doesn't need to be any different. So one little activity that you can do is, for example, if you picked an activity that your child liked, and each of you might be thinking, so he might like puzzles, he might like, this is called a flow ring, you'll ever see one of these, right? They might like, just even doing, shooting the arrow. Doesn't matter, you identify the activity, and then you pick 4 core words. So the activity is a puzzle. So you guys can maybe do this as a little exercise here, just of the different things I have up here. I've got a top, I've got this, I've got music, right? I've got the, y'all remember this? Who remembers this?
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't even, I try to get toys that kids can't do, but then I can't do it, so it doesn't work so good, right? And then you hit it here and then it does the top. Of course, I have a book. So identify an activity, and if you don't like any of these, pick one that you know your child would like. And then 4 supporting core words, and let's talk about them. So verbs, adjectives, prepositions, adverbs, just 4. See what you, and if you need to look at your little core in a nutshell cheat sheet, feel free to help you think of. So write your activity down, and then 4 words that you think would go with that. How's everybody doing? Struggling? There's no right or wrong. I'll help you. All right, let's start here. What was your activity?
The puzzle.
The puzzle. Okay. What 4 words would you do with that?
Put, turn,
Oh.
in.
That's right. So we can put something in. If they put it the wrong way, we can tell them to turn. Help. They might need help doing it. And then what was your 4th one?
In.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Very good. What about y'all?
I did the puzzle too, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Did you come up with anything?
I
different?
did to do the puzzle,
Uh-huh.
to go get the puzzle to do it, and
Yeah.
then all done,
Yeah.
and then help.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
What about Sean?
Read a book.
Okay.
Read. Obviously.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you want to read a book? Yes.
Okay.
Or do you want to, have reading time? Book time.
Okay.
Turn the page.
Turn. Yeah.
And finished or all done.
Mhm. And you could also do things
And
like look.
also help or
Like
look.
look is a
Yeah.
good one, right? Also, it's a lot of times fun to get books that actually manipulate and do things, so that you might have to make something go up or down or open. That's a good time to use the word look, because we can, the where spot, let's look at these in here, right?
What about those books that have the pictures that make sounds on the side? Is that confusing if you're using a communication device?
Yeah, I try to stay. There was just a research study done about the different types of books, and I'm gonna get it wrong, but there's just regular books, right? And then there's e-books, they're called, and then there's something else, e-deluxe or something. And basically, the more sound and animation and stuff that goes on, the less language that goes on between the reader and the listener. So stay away from those.
I have a story about that. My mom works for school, and one of the parents there had an iPad, and they always read on the iPad, and they
Right.
gave their child a normal book, and she
Didn't even
didn't
know
know
how
how to turn the page, she wanted to
Exactly.
swipe everything.
Yeah.
Because they had been, tablets are great, but she had gotten fed, and they didn't even think about that, and so they kind of took us back, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty stern with my parents about iPads and all things electronic other than the device, because it's really not feeding into what we want, which is called shared focus. It's just I'm into my own world. Yeah, so good question though. Think of modeling as being on a stair step. So your child is using another tool, you're modeling how to say that. Maybe your child's saying one word on the device, you're adding to that word, right? You're always one step ahead. So another example here would be we're baking cookies and the child says cookie. What could we put with that word cookie to expand on it?
Yummy,
Yummy cookie,
baked,
big to eat cookie,
Warm.
hot cookie, warm cookie, right? Light cookie, my cookie, right? Now, the child's come down the bottom of the slide. They come down the slide and Dad's got the device around his neck. and the child on the device says again, because Dad's not gonna let him get off the slide until he presents that opportunity to communicate, right? What could we say with again? We could say up again, go again, right? Down again. What about if we give them, we're saying we're gonna have art time now, and we just give them the art supplies, but don't tell them what they're gonna do, so the child says what? How would we expand on that? What make, what do, right?
Can I ask you a question about the slide?
Yeah.
You were saying earlier that if they're trying to communicate without using the device, you should honor their understanding their communication. Dad just went down the slide, he's got the device, he's trying to get you to say do again. What if the child just wiggles and goes, oh, and
Then you would just accept that, and you would say, yep, let's go again.
okay, and just let
Leave
it
it
go.
So you would model it.
I would model it.
Well,
Exactly.
would you point to the device and you
Yes.
show them?
Yeah, on
do
the device,
again,
yes, exactly.
and then off you go.
Yep,
Okay, got it.
exactly, yep. Your hand, that we'll come to it in a minute, should be right here. Your therapist should be giving you a word a week. Sometimes for some children it's a word a day, depending upon where they are, right? And that's kind of the example of the go, right? And so you're gonna learn the different meanings for that word. So turn the page, my turn to do something. Let's all turn and play Ring Around the Rosie. Let's turn on, let's turn off, let's turn up, let's turn down. Let's turn in for the night, right? Let's turn over. And if you really say, okay, Monday we're going to introduce our word and practice it one time, so if the word's up. Then Tuesday we might do it in another context where we can clean up your room, right? We can do that at home, we can do that at school. Then Wednesday we're going to get up, right? And we're going to pick up from school, pick up our room, all kinds of things. Thursday we're going to take the elevator up, and we might turn something up. And by Friday you've done it. So here's an example of Lucas. One of the things the American Speech and Hearing Association is telling us is that we're starting too late. You told me to eat, so let me pause this a second. They used to say 2 years of age if a child is not talking. Now they're really saying 12 months. And by that they mean, doesn't mean they have to give them a device, but you better be starting to look at a lot of different ways of communicating, whether it's sign and a device. Because if they're not babbling and not really have a lot of shared focus and joint attention, then there's probably a pretty good indicator that speech is going to be slow in developing.
Kenzie's she wants to talk.
Mhm.
And that's been our issue. She's really trying.
Yeah, great.
But it's like it's not. The neurologist
Clear.
thinks it's where her speech center, where the
Right.
brain damage is
Right.
where her speech center is.
Right.
Which is not where
Right.
most people says. So we weren't anticipating this challenge.
Right.
So it's not, then she gets frustrated. It's not so much that she's not, she wants to.
Right.
Does that make sense?
They all do.
So it's,
Have y'all ever done this exercise before? So you two can be a partner and you two can be a partner. Put your hands, you start with you and you do it this time and you do it. So put your hands like this and then go like this. And then what I want you to do is to tell her what finger to move, but don't touch it. Like like what finger you want her to move. So let me show you as an example. Okay, so I want you to move that finger.
Don't touch.
Oh, yeah,
I want you to move that finger.
yeah.
Okay,
Weird.
so keep doing that. Keep doing that to each other.
Weird.
But don't touch it when you're showing her. Which one? Or you don't touch though. Okay. Right?
The thumb's easy.
Yeah, now I want you to touch. Now I want you to actually touch what finger you want her to move.
Okay.
She's still having trouble. That's
Interesting.
okay.
Well,
Right.
you touch both of them. That's
Are you
interesting.
getting any better when she touched? So what happens is the more senses that are engaged, it's called multisensory conversion. So that's why a device is helpful, because I'm doing a motor movement to say a word. I'm seeing the word being printed. I'm hearing the word immediately being spoken, and I'm getting naturally reinforced. So by whatever I've asked for. So all those motor neurons that are firing cause other motor neurons to fire and new pathways to make develop. So you got that feeling of I know what finger I want to move, but I can't, right? But then give me more input and then I can. And so letting a child use the communication device is not going to, if she can talk, is not going to stop her from talking. It's going to help her, right? And so let's just look at Lucas. So he's 2. And he's only, this is the first 5 minutes of me working with him. I gave him eat, I gave him play or go and up and down.
Yummy, yummy. Now what?
Oh, good.
What are we doing?
Eat.
What happens when they eat? Yum.
And he has no words at all.
Here. You didn't get it all. All right, here's some more to eat.
So there's what modeling.
Eat. Okay. You want to do something different?
Down.
So he's controlling this crazy lady, right?
Down, all the way to the ground.
Down.
And look, he stopped.
Up.
Up. But look, he's not going. What do we need to tell him to do?
Go.
That's right, go.
So I didn't say tell him to go, right?
Up more. Down.
Down. He stopped. You said, what do we need to tell him to do? Not tell him to go. Don't give him the word.
And then right here, he just did go on the device.
Down.
Oh, it's going to be after this next one. Right there when we stopped it, I stopped the fan again and I said, oh, look, he stopped. And as he was saying go on the device, he said, oh, with his mouth. First time to say anything in 2 years. I mean, that was just in minutes of, working with him.
How did
So,
you make the other blocks darker?
yeah, that's a setting to where,
I feel like that would help me at least be able to see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I probably need to get an
Yeah.
or two, but.
Yeah. Words real quickly to stay away from initially. The first one is more. And sometimes it's one we teach right away. And the reason we need to teach it, stay away from it, as you'll see from this video, it gets overgeneralized. It's okay to teach something like again, we're going to do something again. But watch what Jeremiah does here. She was hoping
What do
he
we need to do?
More what?
even signs it.
Something else.
He says more on the device.
Can I do something different? Different?
So he didn't know how to turn the toy, right? So he was just done with it, right? So he gives it back to her. She was hoping he was going to say turn, because she said, what do we need to do with it? Then he's on the device said more, and he signed more. But then he pointed to the bag of toys and said something different, like you can't even understand if you didn't know what that was. Something else, I think is what he said, something else. So the idea is that's what more, he's just thinking that more gets him what he, gets him something. So then, you'll see here, this is another toy requiring the same thing.
More what? Something different.
So that's how quickly he learned, but okay, no, I didn't really mean to say more because I've handed this back to you. I really don't want this toy, I want something different. Again, so that comes into that language component of being able to have words that you want them to learn.
Should we get rid of those words that we have?
No, I mean, if it's there, you never take it away. Once you give a child a word, I would just not focus on it, right? It wouldn't be my main one. The other one I like to stay away from, especially until they have 75 to 100 words, is what? What do you think? From that picture.
Candy?
No, that's a good thing to stay away from that too. Anybody know?
Want.
Want. Because if I just say that you want, what does it mean? But if I say play, or if I say eat, I at least have some topic. But if I just say want requires me to put something with it. And until I know 75 to 100 single words, I'm not putting words together.
We get, I want that, or what's that?
Yeah. And the other thing that you want to stay away from and redevelop is asking yes/no questions. Yes/no is very hard, right? And a lot of times it's the first thing people want to do is I just want to be able to answer, yes or no questions. But as you can see from here, there's different kinds of yes/no questions. Facts that never change, facts that sometimes change, opinions and emotions that change. Have you ever seen where you say to a child, do you want a cookie? And he says no, but he reaches for it. I mean, it's because he didn't understand the question, right? And so we're going to be getting into this 20 question thing, and then we're going to have meltdowns, and we're going to have all kinds of problems. So what we really need to be doing is asking open-ended questions and staying away
So
from
what's the
yes, no.
example for the cookie? You're wanting.
Well,
What do you want
a
to
toddler, you just say, do you want a cookie? And he says no, but he grabs the cookie from your hand. You give it to him, because obviously he didn't understand the question.
So what do you ask instead?
You want to eat? You want something to eat?
Okay.
That
What would you
kind
like
of
to
thing.
eat?
What would you like to eat? Or, you just, again, try to stay away from yes/no questions in general.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're modeling, you're talking slow, short and simple. You're not saying everything on the device that you're saying with your mouth. You're highlighting the key words, right? 80%, 20%. Not the same of core or fringe, but 80% of the time your hand is on the device. Modeling. 20% the child is responding, using the device themselves. That's how language develops. Baby's born, we talk to it, we immerse it in language. After a week we say, he's not talking, I give up. No, we talk for a whole month to that baby. And we know the language that we're teaching them. And after a whole year, right? Month after month after month, and after a whole year, then they say their first words meaningfully. And that's the part that we're missing. Jill Center, you can Google her. She's the one that I was talking about earlier, respect and reflect. When they use that other communication tool, don't say, well, we've got this $7,000 piece of equipment here. Tell me on it. No, I've already told you, model and reflect. Always follow your child's lead. So in this example, it's a fishbowl that when you put the fish in, it says, that was a purple fish, right? And so what Jeremiah's doing here is he has said purple, and the therapist wants him to pick another color.
There it is. Right there.
And so she's shown him that purple is already in
What
there.
color do you want?
So she's trying to get him to say another color.
Purple's already in there. See it? See, there it is right there at the bottom. See? There's purple. Purple?
What's he want?
What do you want? We got purple. Which one? Look, what? Do you want to get it out? Hmm?
And there was a yes/no question. Probably what she should have done is something, what should we do with purple, right? So my point is, she could have gone on and on and on trying to get him to pick another color. And he wasn't going to happen. He wanted purple out for whatever reason, right? And so you have to be real aware of that too, that you're following your child's lead. Because if not, they're not comfortable, they're not motivated, they're not regulated, meaning their sensory inputs aren't good, they're not having fun, and there's not an opportunity for success. They're not going to communicate with you, right? Here's an example, I had all these different toys, and they said, oh yes, they love all that, she loves all that, but it wasn't until I got out my flow ring, she wouldn't play with me at all. So the question is, ask yourself, Oops, is that one not gonna play? Why is that not playing? I could swear I checked on these. Oh well. She would interact with these, but as soon as I gave her the flow ring, you know, she's on the device saying go to make the flow ring, right? Because she valued it. It was what she was interested in. I'm starting to run out of time, so I won't. But you can kind of see from the look on his face, he's just like, the not even on his face, he's just like this, like, lady, are you kidding me? I was asking him to pick a color. Because never do I say, what color is this? I set the stage to where all my choices, so what color do you want? So they only would have two choices unless I knew they knew their colors already, right? So that they don't make a mistake, because I don't want them to fail. Because if we fail repeatedly, are we gonna wanna communicate, right? So you kind of get the idea here, he just was not, because he wasn't interested in the activity. But once he picked the activity, he was like, okay, yeah, I'll tell you a color, right? So I'd just like to kind of point that out. Try to develop interests. Sometimes with children, they say, well, they're not interested in anything. Like they would just as soon play on their iPad or sit in the corner and, you know, be by themselves. Then it's your job, the team's job, to develop interests, okay? A lot of times, it might not even be with an object. It might be with just motor play, helping them to get regulated. Probably the most important thing then too is knowing the prompt hierarchy. There is a handout that says Kim's 80 words. Those are a lot that I use to start off with. And then on the flip side of that, it shows you where you can write down your nouns to get personalized. Then there's a home implementation handout that shows different activities that happen at home over and over and over again, and how you can do that repetition with variety. And then the final handout is this prompt hierarchy. And really, what's down here at the bottom is showing hand, underhand, or at the elbow. We only do that if we absolutely have to, and we only do it like one time, and then we fade it to the elbow and we're done. If you do all this hand over hand, they're going to become dependent upon it, okay? Where do you think, when you're introducing a device, are you actually starting on this hierarchy? So if you look at that piece of paper, if you're not doing hand under or the elbow, where are we starting when we're introducing language? Modeling. That's exactly right. Just think of that newborn. You're modeling, modeling, and modeling. And it may indeed for some children take months, right? And then you're coming up to the top and you're creating that need to communicate. If you don't have a need to communicate, you won't. So you've got to create opportunities. Then you're going down the hierarchy. So you might pause, and Jill Center says the best way to get, communication is just by an expected pause. Nothing happens after 10, 15, 20 seconds. You kind of go, Then you might call attention to the toy or the object, whatever it is, right? Then you ask what kind of question? Open-ended. Not, do you want more milk? Do you want more cookie? Whatever, right? Because that's a yes-no question. It's open-ended. What next? What now? What should we do? And then if we still don't get anything, you can kind of push the device towards them a little bit, or kind of generally go to the area where the icon is that you're hoping they would be an appropriate response. If that doesn't work, you can give two choices. You don't want to give two choices to someone who is echolalic. That's the person that repeats after you, right? Because they'll just repeat the last thing. So you might say something like, oh, are we going to read more, or are we all done? And if you still don't get a response, then what I tend to do there, going back to the model, is I model what I think they don't want. So I say, oh, I guess you're all done. And then if they're not all done, what are they going to do? They're going to let me know by grabbing it, whatever it is, right? And then, oh, I get it. You want to do it again, right? So that's really, and everybody needs to be following that same prompt hierarchy. It's really important. That's what I was saying, the best way to encourage use is silence. And research even shows back from the late 90s that hand over hand is actually detrimental to do. So, it's not just something I'm saying. So let's look at a couple of videos real quick. Here's Lily with her mom, and Lily's 2. And you'll just see a little bit of modeling and waiting. And you see she's got joy.
So much fun. Stop. Stop.
There's a pause after the model.
Turn. No, you turn it again. Okay, we'll turn it.
And that was just mom. So again, the key word they were looking for was turn, but they were modeling other things. Here's Lydia with mom. Lydia has not only oral apraxia, motor planning, but also limb. So you see a couple of issues. One is she keeps her hand there, so we need to adjust the sensitivity so she's not repeating it over and over. Lydia used to never do anything without hand under hand, so that's why she grabs her mom's hand right there.
Play. Oh, you want to play? Play.
Let me fast forward this because a sibling turned it sideways. Oh, can't rely on siblings. You can see her motor planning, how long it takes her. So mom modeled good on the device.
More. Okay, do it some more. Ready? Good girl. My turn.
So mom modeled turn. See that motor planning, how long it takes her?
When she modeled the device, was we over here and having closer to the child so
Yes.
she could see it?
Yes, that's,
Oh, it's your turn.
now she's saying turn. Yes, that would be the one, and she's gonna tell her to put it in her hand. And yes, that's what I would have recommended, that the device would have been closer to the swing. I'm just glad mom's doing it though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but yes,
But if she's not
Totally.
able to
Yeah.
see it,
Right.
it's like
It
saying turn.
sounds a lot easier than it actually
it is, and that's why I'm showing you some of
Yeah.
this. Here's another one. It's never about compliance. Like, tell me what color something is so that you can see how smart I am. It's more, what color do you want? So here, and this mom's doing a good job, but she also, well, I'll let you see. What do you think?
You want?
Purple pig.
Okay, which pepper? What color? Do you want blue George, white rabbit, or red pepper? Or the yellow bite? Pick the color.
Red.
Red? Okay, here comes Peppa. There's Peppa. Red Peppa. Do you want another color to join you? Pick another color.
Like, a little bit too much prompting, right? Again, just glad she's using it. But
Okay,
So
here
then he
comes
said-
George.
blue.
There's George. There's Blue George.
And I think at
Who
one
else do
point,
you want?
yeah,
Do you want
so
another
kinda-
one?
right?
Do you want white rabbit or yellow bike? Do you want to pick a different color?
And see here, she could just be talking, oh, let's put him up here. Let's make him go for a walk. You
The
see what I
white
mean?
rabbit
And
or the yellow bike?
yeah,
Huh?
he's gonna finally pick another one. But
Show
I
me.
want you to kind of get an idea. So here's a different one. So this is looking at it different. So the first one you saw was in October. Now this is Christmas morning when I get a video from mom. I know that the day's going well, right? And the toy was that popper where you put the ball in. And so you're gonna hear Lydia direct the activity as well as comment. So let's look at this real quick. If I can. I've never had to do it this way. So she's telling mom where to shoot the ball up. she accidentally, as she was bringing her hand down, hit on. So she's going to tell her we're in. Now Mom's kind of waiting for her to say go or up or something. But now she's going to kind of, you know, acknowledge Lydia's other communication. And I don't know that Lydia, like, wants a hug, but Mom does. Right? So Mom says, are you okay?
You're good. All right. I'm so glad. You want Mommy to make it go?
And there's that yes, no. Probably want to just do, you know, but she's smiling.
Oh, I love this game too. It's so much fun.
Okay, kind of get the idea. Here's another example, learning interjections. So Jada was banging Mom's head against the wall, not on purpose, but at the doctor's office, Mom was in the chair and Jada kind of put her chest and then did this, so Mom models ouch. And then the nurse came in to give Jada her shot. And they played the little ouch game while they were waiting for the nurse, right? And that's what Jada learns to say when the nurse comes in with ouch. And again, that's that modeling. So then I said, well, did you get that on video? She said, no. So now they're going home to play the ouch game. And again, this is so fun, right? For Jada. Mom's going to give her a little hand under hand because she's got microcephaly, but a little bit of cerebral palsy in her. And so she's not in the best position, right, to be doing her device, but she's going to fade that.
Ouch! Oh,
That one sounded hot. Now watch this one.
please.
She doesn't look back at Mom because she knows that's not what she meant to say.
Ouch!
And then when she says the right? So, I mean, there again, and Mom's not jumping all over her because she didn't say the right word, right? So, even learning to ask peers questions and one at a time. So, here's what I would say are what I call signs of success. That the child is communicating other than to request, right? They're initiating communication with other people. They're not waiting to be spoken to and asked questions. They're using words across environments, so they're not just using it in school or in speech therapy, but at home, at vacation Bible school, grandma's. Using words for multiple meanings. So my turn, turn the book, turn up, turn down. And then some phonological awareness is starting to develop. So that's hopefully in an hour a
That's
lot of
very good.
information.
That was
but-
really good.
Yeah.
I learned so much from that. Yes.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any questions?
Yeah, initially.
Yeah.
It's
So remind me
like
who your daughter is.
Kinsey Green. I don't know, but she was sick the first
I
couple
have
times.
never
Never
met
actually
her.
met her. I
Yes,
don't think
every
so.
time I go to meet her, she is sick. There's something about me, maybe.
No,
I
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't been sick in a long time.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. And you've come to some other trainings
Yes,
before, haven't you?
yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So I
a
don't
couple
know
of
a
them.
lot. This may have not been any new information to
Actually,
you.
it was. So it's
So
I mean,
good.
well, it's different because the trainings at the school board are more school based
Yeah.
versus. I mean, I do some of this, but like some of these words that are probably not on her device, like awesome. I know that's not on her device,
Yeah.
and it would be nice to have it on there.
Right.
Or ouch and silly, and some of the words that we use at home
Right.
are going to be different than
Right.
words in school. Sometimes. So that I think is nice, and this
To personalize. Yes.
to make it more personal.
And a lot of times what we tend to do is, again, we tend to limit the vocabulary and want them to learn a certain number of words before we add more. And that can be real dangerous because you're giving me words, but maybe they're not the words I need or want. And so I may not learn these words because they're not really important to me.
And I think that's what we ran into, is she was just throwing the device at me. And
Oh, no.
there was nothing
Yeah.
on there that she wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So then she
There's-
just screams at me.
Right. And
Which
so
is
then there's
frustrating.
also got to be joy. you
Right.
know. I'd say these two things. One, your child is going to be as proficient as you are as a team, right? And if there's no joy, there's no learning. And so again, it really does need to be all about learning to communicate before we can communicate to learn. And so when we flip that around and we're trying to make them communicate to learn, they're not ready, right? And so then it becomes this, I don't
Right.
think there's anything to do
It's
with
just something
this.
else to, we've already been at school all day, we've got homework, we've got all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah. Got to be about fun.
Now, what Stacy recommended is just like picking like one activity a night to implement, to start with implementing
that
it
she
in the
really
house.
likes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like American Ninja Warrior, or she loves it. She wants to swing on the ceiling fan. Or I mean, like, but swinging, and we're also getting a pool put in. I'm afraid to take it out there
Well, what you could do,
because I'm afraid it might get thrown.
yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend that. What you can do is get a, I mean, it would not be the same, but it would be similar. You can just get a boogie kickboard, and you could actually put the overlay, and laminate it to the kickboard.
Okay.
Sometimes people even use the iron-on shirts, like you get that stuff that you iron on and print it on that, and then put that on over the kickboard.
And how do we get that to print
overlay?
again? Yeah.
There's a lot of ways. The AAC Language Lab, I have some with me. I can get them.
I think you could go to like Science First with the picture of it, and they could print it on pretty much anything that you wanted.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Yeah, there's even school districts that have on the playground. They have a big, huge
Like
board.
banners.
Mhm.
Nick just said, keep it around
Posters.
your neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it, and for me to carry it instead of letting Kinsey carry it.
Is she ambulatory?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Too much stuff sometimes. Just like, there's no stopping at the end of the slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, all right. So thank you so much for
You're
coming,
welcome.
and we will end our very first Facebook Live session.
No problem.
Yeah.